grace extended to the cursed Canaanites. Hello and welcome to No Crown in Heaven for Bible Knowledge. Today we are continuing in Genesis chapter 9, starting from verse 18, the event that happened between Noah and his sons, specifically his youngest son, Ham. So we are going to read the passage and go over it. Chapter 9, verse 18. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. So here we are talking about the sons of Noah. From them the whole earth populated, and it mentioned three of them, but also it mentions Canaan, the son of Ham. Why it's mentioned it here? Because of its importance. It's not because the other sons didn't have sons. When we go to chapter 10 and we read the genealogies of all three, we'll find out that probably Canaan was listed the last one for Ham's children. So there is some reason that's probably we will never know why Canaan is listed here. Some people speculate. We will go over these speculations. However, it's not determined. It's not for sure. But before we go to the event between Ham and his father when he got drunk, let's address the drinking issue as a debate. Is it being drunk is a sinful action, or just drinking is a sinful action? And all these debates about these issues, we're gonna just cover it really quick. It's not gonna be extended. So the issue of drinking wine or spirits is debated, and different opinions, and each pastor has their own conviction that teaches his congregation. I sat a whole hour of a sermon under one of the famous pastors teaching about you should not have any spirits or wine or anything at any time, and teaching about that the Bible speaks of wine in different terms, and that the wine that Jesus made was not actually intoxicating and all that. But I want to just quickly address this issue in 2 points. The first point, the word wine that's used when Jesus made wine at the wedding. The word wine that is used in that context here, John 2 verse 9, when the master of the feast had tested the water that was made wine, and did not know where it came from. So here is the word wine here is oinos, in Greek, Oinos, and the Strongs are G3631. So that is the same word that's used in Ephesians 5:18, and do not be drunk with wine, in which is dissipation, but be filled with the Spirit. So the same word wine here in this verse, and it's the same Greek word and the same Strongs. So it's the same. So the same wine that Jesus provided for the wedding is the same wine that Paul is saying, do not be drunk with wine, because in it, in which is dissipation. The dissipation is not in the wine, but in the drunkenness. So that's just put the issue that Jesus has provided wine that can result into drunkenness, but the dissipation is not in the wine itself, but in the abusing the wine to become drunk. And for sure, the scripture speaks of all these bad results of being intoxicated with wine or with any spirits. Proverbs speaks of it. Many verses in the New Testament speaks of it. But the problem is in the abuse of the using of the drink. It's not in the drink itself. Same for anything else God give us, even food, and you be a glutton. There is no sin in eating good food and enjoying a good meal, but it's sinful to become a glutton and be obsessed with food. Anything, sex, anything that you use it not in the right way that God intended it, it would be a sinful act. Now, we go to the point of stumbling others. For sure, we should abstain of any act that will stumble somebody else that's young in their belief. So in this way, we make sure that we're not making any action, especially drinking, in front of people who could be stumbled by this because they have an issue, they have a problem with drinking. So you sit with them on a table and you're eating and you have a drink and they are sitting next to you, then maybe that will stumble them to be tempted to drink. The stumbling should not be in the belief if it's wrong or not. Meaning, if there is two pastors, one pastor says you cannot be drunk, but there is no sin in just drinking a glass of wine once a while or whatever. And there is another pastor who's teaching you should not be drinking at all, this thing should not be in your house, and all that. So a congregant from this pastor goes out to lunch with a congregant from this pastor, or invite him to his house, and then he sees a glass of wine in his house. So the stumbling here is not because this person is drinking and now he's confused. The stumbling because of the wrong teaching that originally was done, because we see here Jesus provide wine that can result into drunkenness, and that there were people already drunk in the wedding. So Jesus was not providing them with a bad thing. He was solving an issue for the bridegroom who would be embarrassed that they ran out of wine. So the wine itself was not the problem of the people abusing it. So when somebody was taught you should not drink wine at all, and then he meets a believer who believes differently, and then he sees him drinking, then the stumbling is not because of his drinking, the stumbling is because of the wrong teaching. But if two meet together and somebody knows that this person has a problem with drinking, then this person should abstain from drinking in front of this person so they will not stumble them. That's the difference. That's in my opinion. But for me, we don't have any wine or any drinks in our house at all because we don't even like it. So I used to drink in the past, but that's probably over 20 years ago. I haven't have any drink. So with that, I wanted to just address the drinking issue here and just continue in the rest of the passage, which is that we're going to discuss the issue with Ham and his father. So now so obviously Noah being drunk, that was a wrong thing to do. Being uncovered or being naked, that's a result, that's the dissipation because of the drunkenness. Now he was in his tent, so he was not publicly naked. But let's read the rest of the passage. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. And then we're going to go to verse 25. So, why Canaan is listed here, while if we go to chapter 10, and it lists the genealogies. In verse 6, the sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. So he had 4 sons. And Canaan is listed the last. So why Canaan is listed in chapter 9, Ham, the father of Canaan. There is something we don't know. So what did really Ham do, and why Canaan is listed here? A lot of people come with different speculations, and these speculations are probabilities, but we cannot determine which one is actually the accurate that actually happened. But we know that what Ham did was sinful act, and somehow Canaan was involved. So let me just lay the background here. This happened after the flood. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. We don't know when did this happen within those 350 years. It didn't happen immediately after, because he has to start farming, start building a vine, harvest the grapes, ferment the grapes to become wine, all that. So there is some time, but could be 100 years after the flood, could be 200 years after the flood. So the listing of Canaan here, we don't know if he was actually already born and was involved in the act with his father, or he was not born, as other speculations mentioned. So let's talk about what happened. The phrase "saw the nakedness of his father" is used in Leviticus 18 and 20 in many scenarios that will be considered uncovering the nakedness of somebody else. So, and there is so many different scenarios. It's not just one scenario, but there is one verse that people uses. I'm gonna find it. Leviticus 18:8. The nakedness of your father's wife you shall not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. And most people take this verse and say that Ham uncovered his father's nakedness by having sex with Noah's wife. Either was that his mother at the time, or his mother died and he has a new wife. But they say, because of this verse, that Ham have sex with his father's wife, taking advantage of his father being drunk, and the result that Cain was born, and that's why Noah cursed Cain. That's a speculation. We don't know if Cain was already born or not, because how come next day Noah wakes up from his drunkenness, know what had happened, and cursed Cain? Did Cain was named at that point? We don't know. Was Cain already born, so he knew Cain, and then he knew that Cain was involved? So we cannot really determine for what reason Canaan was cursed. And we don't know why Ham himself was not cursed. But the curse came as a result of what happened. So now let's go to verse 25 and read the curse, which actually a prophecy that has determined the course of a very long time of history in the Old Testament. So verse 25, then he said, Noah, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. He shall be to his brother. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. He shall be to his brother. And then, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So Cain be Shem's servant. And then verse 27, may God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem. So Japheth dwells in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So it's getting complicated here. Japheth is the oldest, Shem is in the middle, and Ham is the youngest. And Ham will become a servant of Shem and a servant of Japheth, who will dwell in the tents of Shem. So when we go to chapter 10 and we see the population of the earth through those three sons, and we see who did what, and we see the course of history will continue according to this prophecy. It is clearly that this determined the course of history. Briefly, Abraham will come from the line of Shem. Abraham will be into the east of Israel, the land of Israel now, which is way by Iran or Iraq. And God will call him to the land that he doesn't know, the land of Canaan, the Canaanites. Ham would have his children, and then Canaan, they will move to the land of Israel, which become the promised land. Abraham will go to the land of Canaan. His descendant, Jacob's children, and Jacob will go to Egypt to be slaves for 400 years, while the Canaanites living in the land, provoking God with their sinful action and sinful idolatry and sexual immorality. Then God will call them out of Egypt, and they will conquer Canaan, and Canaanites will become slaves to Shem's descendant. The part that Japheth will be dwell in Shem's tent, that part I admit I haven't figured that out yet. So we'll continue with reading, and we will probably come to that in the future. But for now, I cannot explain to you Japheth becoming live in the tent of Shem. Now, verse 28, and Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Now, so with that, there is two possibilities, and we cannot determine what exactly happened. But one possibility that Canaan was involved in the act against Noah. Because what support that view, because going back to verse 22 in chapter 9, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father. It it gave the implication Canaan was already born and probably an adult too. We have 350 years span of time when this happened. We don't know exactly when it happened. So that is a very big possibility, and it's more acceptable as Canaan to be cursed because he was involved in the act. The other possibility that Ham had raped Noah's wife and uncovered his nakedness this way, that the offspring of this action was Canaan, and that's why Noah cursed Canaan. However, that doesn't line up with God's character, that a son to be punished for his father's sin, because the act was against Noah only by Ham. If Canaan was the offspring of the act, but that is still a possibility, and we cannot bring speculations to become what we believe in. We just have to say we are explaining that passage with these possibilities. So the Canaanites were practicing wickedness that's been passed on generation after generation. As we talked in a previous episode about God's plan for the family, that you teach God's way to your children and children's children, but also from the other side, a wicked people will teach their children either by example or by teaching to become wicked, and so on, and the wickedness will continue to increase generation after generation. But God extends his grace to the cursed. We are cursed by our sins, and God extends our grace to us, although we are still sinners. So I want to go to Matthew chapter 15 and read this passage and show you how God's grace extended to the cursed. Matthew 15 verse 21, then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. We know the rest of the story. He would tell her, I'm not sent, I'm sent to the children of Israel, the house of Israel. And she would, Lord, help me. And then he would say, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And she continue persistence. Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which falls from their master's table. Then what Jesus said here. Then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. We know Jesus was not rejecting her. He was purifying her faith. He was perfecting her faith. And he knew in advance will be the end result. But grace was extended to her because she acknowledged who he is and acknowledged his deity. When she said, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David." So, was the Canaanite woman cursed because she came from the line of Canaan? They were servants to the children of Israel who are coming from the line of Shem. Was that the conclusion of God? No, because when the children of Israel rebelled, he took them to captivities. So that was a curse on them. But when she believed, the curse was removed and the grace was extended. So the grace that was extended to the children of Israel, because they're following the way of the Lord that was taught to them generation after generation, could be taken away, and the curse would be applied if they rebel against the Lord. And the descendants of the Canaanite who was cursed because the wickedness that is being taught generation after generation could be removed and the grace extended. Instead, when somebody is sincere seeking the Lord, as this woman. So, grace is extended to the cursed. Same to us. Thank you very much for watching. Continue next episode in chapter 10. And see you next time. God bless you.